Hi, I'm Sunny. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. My brother Callum is 2 years older than me, and for as long as I can remember, he's been competitive in the strangest ways. Not about grades or careers or normal sibling rivalry things, about food. Specifically about being the person who discovers restaurants first, who has the best taste, who knows the food scene better. It started when we were teenagers. I'd mentioned wanting to try a new burger place, and Callum would race there the same day, then spend dinner describing everything he ate in excruciating detail. The bacon was perfectly crisp, the cheese was aged cheddar, the brioche bun was clearly house-made. Making sure everyone knew he'd been there first. I thought he'd grow out of it. He's 33 now. I'm 31. He hasn't grown out of anything. I live in a city with an incredible food scene. My husband Dominic and I love trying new restaurants, exploring different cuisines, celebrating special occasions at nice places. We're not food snobs, just people who appreciate good meals and the experience of dining out. Callum lives in the same city, works in tech, makes good money, and has positioned himself as the family's food expert. He's constantly posting restaurant recommendations on social media, sending group texts about new openings, lecturing everyone about proper dining etiquette and how to identify quality ingredients. Our parents, Russell and Gwen, encourage this behavior by always asking Callum for restaurant recommendations. Our younger sister Jade and I have suggested places before, but they always default to Callum's opinion. Let's see what Callum thinks has been the family refrain my entire adult life. I've learned to live with it, mostly. Until 6 months ago, when I started noticing a disturbing pattern. It began in March. Dominic and I were planning our anniversary dinner. I'd heard about a new French bistro called Marseille that just opened, getting incredible reviews, impossible to get reservations. I mentioned it casually during a family dinner at my parents' house. Dominic and I are hoping to try Marseille for our anniversary in 2 weeks. I'm going to call tomorrow to see if they have availability. Callum immediately pulled out his phone. Marseille? I've been wanting to try that place. What date is your anniversary? March 23rd. Saturday night. He made a note in his phone, or so it seemed. The conversation moved on. The next morning I called Marseille right when they opened at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, we're completely booked for March 23rd, the hostess said. We have availability on the 22nd or 24th if that works. Neither date worked for us. Our anniversary was specifically the 23rd. I was disappointed, but figured that's how popular restaurants work. You book weeks in advance. 2 days later, Callum posted on social media, amazing meal at Marseille last night. The coq au vin was perfection. Already planning my next visit. He'd eaten there the night after I'd called, which meant he'd somehow gotten a reservation while I couldn't. I texted him. Hey, saw you went to Marseille. How did you get a reservation? They were totally booked when I called. I called right when they opened yesterday. Got lucky, I guess. Something felt off, but I couldn't pinpoint what. Maybe he really did just get lucky. A month later, it happened again. I mentioned during a video call with my family that Dominic and I wanted to try this new Japanese place called Kiyomi for my birthday in May. Callum was on the call, asked what date, made another note. When I called Kiyomi the next day, same story. Fully booked for my birthday. But they'd had a large cancellation that morning, so they'd briefly had availability before other people snatched it up. 3 days later, Callum posted photos from Kiyomi. Omakase experience was transcendent. Best sushi I've had outside of Tokyo. This time, I was suspicious. I called Kiyomi back and asked to speak with a manager. Hi, I tried to book a table for May 15th a few days ago, and you said you just had a cancellation that got rebooked. Can you tell me what time that cancellation happened? Let me check our system. Pause. The cancellation came in at 9:12 a.m. on April 18th, a party of 6. Those seats were rebooked by 11 a.m. April 18th was the day after our family video call. The same day I'd called to make a reservation. Can you tell me what name that canceled reservation was under? I probably shouldn't, but since you're asking about availability, it was Morrison. Callum Morrison. My last name is Morrison too, before I got married and became Cortez. Callum had booked a table at the exact restaurant I'd mentioned for a party of 6 when he lives alone and eats out solo or occasionally with dates. Then he canceled it, making it available briefly before other people booked. By the time I called, it was gone. Then he'd gone there himself on a different date and posted about it. I didn't confront him immediately. I needed to be sure this was a pattern, not a coincidence. So I set a trap. During our monthly family dinner in June, I mentioned very specifically that Dominic and I wanted to try a new Italian place called Sorella for our friend's birthday party. We're planning to book a table for 10 people on June 29th. I'm calling tomorrow morning. Callum, predictably, pulled out his phone. That place looks great. I've been meaning to try it. The next morning, I had my friend Aisha call Sorella at 9 a.m., pretending to be me, and book a table for 10 people on June 29th under my married name, Cortez. At 9:30, I called from a different phone and asked about availability for the same date. We have availability for parties your size. What time were you thinking? Actually, do you have any reservations under Morrison? Callum Morrison? Pause. Yes, actually. Party of 8 for 7 p.m. on June 29th. That's my brother. He was supposed to book for me, but I wanted to confirm he did it. Can you tell me when that reservation was made? This morning at 9:05. Callum had called the moment they opened, booked a table of 8, and waited. If he followed his pattern, he'd cancel in a few hours, the tables would be rebooked by other people, and when I called later, I'd be told they were fully booked. I called him immediately. Callum, did you make a reservation at Sorella for June 29th? What? No, why would I? Because you have a reservation there under your name for party of 8 at 7 p.m., the exact date I mentioned wanting to go last night. Silence. Then, I might have made a tentative booking. I was thinking of having a dinner party. You don't have dinner parties. You eat alone or on dates, and your reservation is for the exact date I said I needed. That's a coincidence. Is it also a coincidence that you booked Marseille the day I tried to call them, then canceled? And Kiyomi? More silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Callum, I checked with the restaurants. I have confirmation that you booked and canceled tables at every place I mentioned wanting to try on the exact dates I needed them, ensuring they were unavailable when I called. You're being paranoid, Sonny. Am I? Then keep your Sorella reservation. Have your dinner party, I'll wait. I don't have to explain my plans to you. Cancel that reservation in the next hour, and I'll know I'm right. I hung up. At 10:45, I called Sorella back. Hi, did Callum Morrison cancel his reservation? Yes, about 20 minutes ago. Would you like to book that time slot? Yes, please, under Sonny Cortez, party of 10. I had him. Concrete proof that my brother was deliberately sabotaging my restaurant plans. But I needed to understand why before confronting him with witnesses. I talked to my sister Jade first. She's 28, works as a teacher, and has always been neutral in family dynamics. Jade, has Callum ever done anything weird when you mention restaurants you want to try? Like what? Like booking them and canceling so you can't get reservations? That's oddly specific. Why? I explained the whole pattern. Jade was quiet for a long time. Now that you mention it, I wanted to try this brunch place for my birthday 2 years ago. Told the family about it, called the next day. They were booked. Callum went there the following weekend and posted about it. I thought it was just coincidence. It's not coincidence, he's doing it deliberately. But why? What does he gain from this? Control, status, being the person who discovered the restaurant first, being the food expert, I don't know exactly, but it's pathological. Jade agreed to help me test the theory again. At the next family dinner, she mentioned wanting to try a new Thai place called Lotus for her boyfriend's birthday. She gave a specific date. Callum did his usual phone note-taking. The next morning, I had Jade check if Callum had made a reservation. He had. Party of 6, exact date she'd mentioned. She kept monitoring. 4 hours later, he canceled. When she tried to book that evening, the slots were gone, taken by other parties. Oh my God, Jade said when she called me. He really is doing this, to both of us. For how long? I don't know, years maybe. Every time we've mentioned wanting to try a restaurant and mysteriously couldn't get reservations. We need to tell Mom and Dad. I agreed, but I knew our parents wouldn't believe us without overwhelming evidence. Russell and Gwen thought Callum walked on water, especially regarding restaurants. He was their food expert. their sophisticated son who knew the dining scene. Dominic suggested I document everything. I created a spreadsheet. Every restaurant I'd mentioned in family conversations or group texts over the past year. Every time I'd failed to get a reservation. Cross-referenced with Callum's social media posts and restaurant check-ins. The pattern was undeniable. 15 restaurants over 12 months. I'd mention them, failed to get reservations on my requested dates, then Callum would post about eating there within 2 weeks, 15 times. I brought the documentation to Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Callum was already there, showing Mom and Dad photos from his latest restaurant discovery. I waited until everyone was seated. I need to talk about something that's been happening. Callum has been deliberately sabotaging my restaurant reservations. Callum laughed. What are you talking about? I'm talking about you booking tables at every restaurant I mention wanting to try, on the exact dates I need them, then canceling so they're fully booked when I call. That's ridiculous. I pulled out my printed spreadsheet. 15 restaurants in the past year. I mention them at family dinners or in group texts. The next day, you book reservations for the exact dates I mentioned. Then you cancel those reservations within hours, making the tables available briefly before other people book them. By the time I call, there's no availability. Then you go to those same restaurants on different dates and post about them on social media. My father looked confused. Sonny, that seems like a lot of coincidences. I have confirmation from 3 restaurants that Callum Morrison canceled reservations on the exact dates I tried to book, and Jade's experienced the same thing. Jade nodded. He did it to me with Lotus last month. I watched it happen in real time. Callum's face reddened. I make a lot of reservations. Sometimes plans change. That's not sabotage, that's normal behavior. Normal behavior isn't booking parties of 8 when you eat alone. Normal behavior isn't canceling reservations within hours of making them. Normal behavior isn't doing this 15 times to your sister's specifically mentioned restaurants. My mother, ever the peacemaker, tried to deflect. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Callum's very organized about his dining plans. Perhaps he's just particular about where he eats. Mom, he's deliberately preventing me from eating at restaurants I want to try so he can go there first and be the expert. It's not about being particular. It's about control. Callum stood up. I don't have to listen to these accusations. You're jealous because I have better taste and more culinary knowledge than you. I'm not jealous. I'm documenting harassment. Harassment? It's restaurant reservations, Sonny. You're being dramatic. You've done this 15 times. 15 times you've deliberately prevented me from dining at places I wanted to try, then gone there yourself and posted about it like you discovered them. That's not coincidence. That's calculated cruelty. My father tried to mediate. Let's all calm down. Callum, have you been booking reservations at restaurants your sister mentioned? I book reservations at lots of restaurants. That's not an answer, I said. Yes or no? Have you specifically booked tables at restaurants I mentioned wanting to try? On dates I said I needed them? He couldn't meet my eyes. Sometimes we have similar taste. That's not a crime. And the cancellations? Why book a table for 8 people when you're eating alone, then cancel it hours later? Plans change. 15 times? Plans change 15 times in a year, always within hours of me mentioning I wanted to try those exact restaurants? The room was silent. Even my parents, who always defended Callum, seemed to realize the pattern was indefensible. My mother finally spoke. Callum, did you do this on purpose? I didn't do anything wrong. I have a right to eat wherever I want. That's not what I asked. He looked cornered. Fine, yes. I made reservations at places Sonny mentioned. And yes, sometimes I canceled them. But it's not sabotage. I was considering going, then decided not to. It's not my fault other people booked those slots before she could. You canceled them within hours of making them, I said, deliberately creating a window where the slots would be taken. You knew I was calling that day because I told the family I was calling. You sabotaged me deliberately. I just wanted to try those places first. Is that so wrong? You always act like you discover restaurants, but you're just following trends. I have actual culinary knowledge. There it was. The real reason. Callum couldn't handle his younger sister having opinions about restaurants, being excited about the food scene, potentially being seen as someone with good taste. He needed to be the expert, the discoverer, the authority, and he'd sabotage me to maintain that position. My father looked disappointed. Son, that's petty and vindictive. It's just restaurants, Dad. It's not about restaurants, I said. It's about you being so insecure about your identity as the food expert that you'll hurt your sister to protect it. It's pathological, Callum. He grabbed his jacket. I'm not listening to this. You're all overreacting. If I'm overreacting, then stop doing it. Stop booking reservations at restaurants I mention. Stop canceling them. Stop sabotaging me. I'll book wherever I want, whenever I want. Then I'll stop telling this family about any restaurants I'm interested in, and I'll make sure those restaurants know to watch for your cancellation patterns. He left, slamming the door. My parents sat in stunned silence. My mother finally spoke. I had no idea he was doing this. He's been doing it for years, Mom. You just never questioned why I could never get reservations at places I mentioned wanting to try. I thought you were just bad at planning ahead. No, I was being sabotaged by my own brother. In the months since that confrontation, I've stopped sharing any restaurant plans with my family. I book reservations under Dominic's last name, different from mine and from Callum's. I don't post about where I'm eating on social media. I've removed Callum from my social media entirely. He's tried to apologize twice, both times qualifying it with, "But you have to understand," followed by justifications about his culinary expertise and how important his reputation is. Neither apology acknowledged the actual harm, just his need to protect his ego. Jade has started doing the same thing I am. Private reservations, no sharing with family. She caught Callum trying to friend her new private Instagram account from a fake profile to monitor where she's eating. Our parents still ask Callum for restaurant recommendations, old habits, but they've started asking me too, quietly when he's not around. Progress, I guess. Last week, I got a call from Marseille, the French bistro from my anniversary. Miss Cortez, we have your name on a cancellation list from March. We had a last-minute opening for this Saturday if you're interested. Dominic and I went. The coq au vin was incredible. I didn't post about it, didn't tell my family, just enjoyed an excellent meal without worrying about my brother's sabotage. That's what my relationship with food has become. Private, protected, away from Callum's need to control the narrative. It's sad that it has to be this way, but it's better than being sabotaged. Some people collect stamps. My brother collects the satisfaction of preventing his sister from eating at restaurants she wants to try. And that says everything about who he is. If your sibling deliberately booked and canceled restaurant reservations to prevent you from dining at places you mentioned wanting to try, just so they could go first and maintain their status as the family food expert, how would you handle it?